Wind over the sea, boots echoing on a steel deck, a ship's bell tolls slowly, distant, ominous foghorns. It was the largest warship Europe had ever built, a steel behemoth born of ambition and dread. Forged in the crucible of a resurgent Germany, the battleship Bismarck was more than just a vessel. She was a declaration, a terrifying symbol of Nazi power unleashed upon the high seas. She moved like a predator, cloaked in the North Atlantic's perpetual twilight, carved from the very heart of a nation bent on conquest. In May 1941, with the world teetering on the brink, the Bismarck slipped into the vast, unforgiving expanse of the North Atlantic. Her mission was chillingly clear: to sever Britain's vital lifeline, to strangle the island nation into submission by cutting off the convoys that fed its people and fueled its war machine. This was not merely a naval operation. It was an existential threat, a direct challenge to the very survival of the last bastion of freedom in Western Europe. But what happens when overwhelming pride outpaces cautious strategy? What occurs when the cold calculus of war is shattered by a single devastating shell? This is the story of a cataclysm, a desperate chase, and the last great battleship duel in history. It is the tale of the pride of two empires, locked in a deadly embrace, and the thunderous reckoning that would send one to the depths and forever alter the course of the war at sea. Bismarck, the last hunt, slow crescendo of sonar blips, deep, resonant war drums, and the distant roar of heavy guns. By the spring of 1941, the shadow of Hitler's Third Reich stretched ominously across the European continent, from the frozen fjords of the Arctic to the sun-baked shores of the Aegean. France, once a formidable power, had fallen in a mere 6 weeks, its proud army shattered, its spirit broken. The Balkans lay prostrate, absorbed into the Nazi sphere of influence. Across the Channel, only Great Britain, battered but unbowed, held the line, a solitary beacon of defiance against the encroaching darkness. Yet, Britain was starving. Its very existence depended on the ceaseless flow of merchant ships, laden with food, raw materials, and vital war supplies, traversing the treacherous North Atlantic from the Americas. Every week, German U-boats, the silent wolves of the Kriegsmarine, sent thousands upon thousands of tons of Allied shipping to the seabed, their torpedoes tearing gaping holes in the fabric of Britain's survival. The island nation was a fortress under siege, its lifelines stretched taut, threatening to snap. It was against this backdrop of relentless attrition that a new, audacious plan emerged from the German High Command, a strategy not reliant on the stealth of submarines, but on the overwhelming power of steel leviathans. This was Operation Rheinübung, a swift, thunderous blow meant to shatter the North Atlantic convoy system, to sow chaos and fear, and to force Britain to divert precious naval assets away from other critical theaters. At the heart of this audacious gamble stood the battleship Bismarck, a vessel designed to be the ultimate commerce raider, and her sleek, powerful consort, the heavy cruiser Prince Eugen. Their mission, to unleash a reign of terror upon the Atlantic, a devastating 1-2 punch that would cripple Britain's ability to wage war. Conceived as the pinnacle of German naval engineering, the Bismarck was a truly awe-inspiring sight. Stretching an astonishing 251 meters, 823 feet from bow to stern, she displaced over 50,000 tons fully loaded, making her the largest and most powerful warship afloat at the time. Her main armament consisted of 8 formidable 15-inch, 38-centimeter guns, housed in 4 twin turrets, capable of hurling armor-piercing shells weighing nearly a ton over distances exceeding 20 miles. These guns, combined with state-of-the-art optics and fire control systems, made her a devastating opponent. Her armor scheme, a robust all-or-nothing design, concentrated thick plating around vital areas, making her incredibly resilient. And with 4 powerful propeller shafts driven by 12 high-pressure boilers, she could achieve a blistering top speed of over 30 knots, a remarkable feat for a ship of her size, allowing her to outrun most battleships and outgun most cruisers. Yet, for all her raw power, the Bismarck was untested in the crucible of war. Her sister ship, Tirpitz, was still incomplete, undergoing final fitting out. The rest of the German surface fleet, crippled by earlier engagements, cornered in port, or undergoing extensive repairs, was in no position to offer substantial support. The mighty Scharnhorst and Gneisenau, veterans of Atlantic raiding, were bottled up in Brest, damaged and under constant British air surveillance. Still, Adolf Hitler, ever impatient and driven by the looming invasion of the Soviet Union, Operation Barbarossa, demanded immediate action. Britain's supply lines had to be severed, and they had to be severed now. Thus, Admiral Gunther Lütjens, a seasoned but cautious naval officer, was ordered to set sail. He harbored deep reservations about the mission, understanding the immense risks involved. He knew his force lacked adequate air cover, that the support of other heavy units was absent, and that the Royal Navy would unleash its full might against him. Despite these profound misgivings, bound by duty and the iron will of the Führer, Lütjens led his small, formidable task force, Bismarck and Prinz Eugen, into the deadly, fog-shrouded maze of the North Atlantic. It was a gamble of epic proportions, a roll of the dice that would determine the fate of a ship, a fleet, and perhaps a nation. The vastness of the Atlantic offered a cloak of anonymity, but the Royal Navy's intelligence network was relentless. The Germans had attempted to maintain radio silence, but the sheer scale of the Bismarck's departure from Gdynia, her brief stop in Korsfjord near Bergen, Norway, and the telltale signs of a major naval movement could not be entirely concealed. British intelligence struck gold when a lone Spitfire reconnaissance aircraft, braving treacherous weather, managed to snap a grainy but unmistakable photograph, the colossal form of the Bismarck anchored in a Norwegian fjord. Within hours, the alarm bells rang across the Admiralty in London. The implications were dire. A ship of Bismarck's power, loose in the Atlantic, could wreak unimaginable havoc on the convoy routes. The Royal Navy, already stretched thin across multiple theaters, mobilized with a speed born of desperation. Vice Admiral Lancelot Holland, a respected and aggressive commander, was given the unenviable task of leading the intercept force. His command included the legendary HMS Hood, a battlecruiser revered as the Mighty Hood, the pride of the Royal Navy, though her design, a relic of World War I, carried inherent vulnerabilities. Alongside her sailed the brand-new battleship HMS Prince of Wales, still undergoing sea trials, her crew green and her guns prone to mechanical issues. A screen of cruisers and destroyers completed the force. Holland's mission was stark and uncompromising: find and stop the Bismarck before she could break out into the open Atlantic and unleash her destructive power. The fate of Britain hung in the balance. The strategic geography of the North Atlantic offered few viable routes for a German warship to break out into the open ocean undetected. The most likely passage, and indeed the only practical one for a ship of Bismarck's size, was the Denmark Strait, a narrow, treacherous gap of sea between the icy expanse of Greenland and the rugged coastline of Iceland. This choke point, often shrouded in dense fog and plagued by violent storms, became the Royal Navy's primary focus. Admiral Holland, anticipating Lütjens' move, deployed his forces with precision. 2 heavy cruisers, HMS Suffolk and HMS Norfolk, equipped with the latest radar technology, were dispatched to patrol the frigid waters of the strait. Their mission was one of silent, patient vigilance, to act as the eyes and ears of the fleet, to detect the German raiders and shadow them until the heavier British units could close for battle. For days, they endured the biting cold and the relentless swell, their crews on edge, scanning the radar screens and peering into the swirling mists. Then, through the swirling fog and driving snow, the impossible became terrifyingly real. On the morning of May 23, 1941, the radar operators on HMS Suffolk picked up a contact. Moments later, through a momentary break in the weather, the lookouts saw them, 2 colossal shapes, steel monsters emerging from the snow squalls, their gray hulls looming like specters. It was the Bismarck and Prinz Eugen. The silent vigil was over. The hunt had begun. The stage was set for a confrontation that would echo through naval history. Upon receiving the contact report from Suffolk and Norfolk, Vice Admiral Holland closed fast, driven by a desperate urgency. His tactical objective was clear: to cross the German T, a classic naval maneuver designed to bring the maximum number of his ship's guns to bear on the enemy, while presenting a smaller target in return. He aimed to engage the Bismarck head-on, to unleash the combined firepower of Hood and Prince of Wales before the Germans could fully react. But the unforgiving conditions of the Denmark Strait, the swirling fog, the driving snow, and the chaotic nature of naval combat conspired against him. Holland's approach was hampered by poor visibility, and in the confusion, he tragically mistook the Prince Eugen, leading the German line, for the Bismarck. At 05:52 a.m. on May 24, 1941, Holland gave the order to open fire. The mighty 15-inch guns of HMS Hood roared, sending colossal shells streaking towards the Prince Eugen. The Germans, however, had correctly identified their primary target. The Bismarck and Prince Eugen returned salvos with chilling precision, their massive guns spitting fire and steel across the icy waters. Bismarck's first shells, aimed at the Hood, missed their mark, sending towering geysers of water skyward. But the German gunners quickly found their range. The Hood, for all her legendary status, was a battle cruiser, designed for speed over comprehensive protection. Her deck armor, a critical vulnerability, was thin in comparison to modern battleships. At exactly 6 a.m., a shell from the Bismarck, likely a 15-inch armor-piercing round, found its mark. It plunged through Hood's thinly armored deck, penetrating to her aft magazine. There was an instant, a blinding flash of light, followed by a catastrophic explosion that tore the ship in two. The sound was deafening, the sight horrifying. In a mere 3 minutes, the pride of the Royal Navy, HMS Hood, vanished beneath the waves, taking with her 1,415 men. Only 3 men survived the inferno and the icy depths. The shock reverberated across the world. A legend had fallen, and the psychological impact on the Royal Navy was immense. Narrator. In the immediate aftermath of the Hood's cataclysmic demise, the brand-new HMS Prince of Wales found herself alone, facing the combined might of the Bismarck and Prince Eugen. The scene on her decks was one of utter chaos. Shells crashed around her, sending geysers of water and shrapnel across her superstructure. Men shouted orders, desperately trying to maintain composure amidst the deafening roar of guns and the shuddering impact of near misses. Decks buckled under the strain, and the acrid smell of cordite filled the air. Despite being fresh from the shipyard, with technical failures plaguing her main armament and a crew still undergoing training, the Prince of Wales fought on with remarkable courage. Her forward 14-inch guns, though temperamental, managed to score crucial hits on the Bismarck. One shell ripped through the Bismarck's bow, causing a massive oil leak and flooding a generator room. Another struck amidships, damaging fuel tanks and causing further flooding in a boiler room. These hits, though not immediately crippling, were significant. They forced Bismarck to reduce speed, and the gushing oil left a telltale slick across the ocean, a beacon for her pursuers. However, the Prince of Wales could not stand alone against such overwhelming firepower. With her own damage mounting and her forward guns temporarily jammed, Captain John Leach, a man of immense bravery and tactical acumen, made the difficult but necessary decision to break off the engagement. Under the cover of a smokescreen, the Prince of Wales slipped into the fog, her mission of delaying the Bismarck accomplished, but at a terrible cost. The duel was over, for now, but the battle, the relentless hunt, had just begun. The Bismarck, though victorious, was bleeding, leaving a trail that the Royal Navy would follow to the ends of the earth. Admiral Lutyens had achieved a stunning victory, sinking the mighty Hood and damaging the Prince of Wales. Yet the triumph was bittersweet. His orders were clear: avoid prolonged battle, find convoys, strike and then disappear. But now, with fuel gushing from her hull, her speed reduced, and British ships in relentless pursuit, the Bismarck was no longer the hunter. She was the hunted. The damage to her fuel tanks was critical, severely limiting her operational range. The dream of a prolonged commerce raiding spree across the Atlantic was shattered. With a heavy heart, Lutyens made the fateful decision to turn for France, specifically the port of Saint-Nazaire. home to the massive dry dock capable of repairing his damaged Leviathan. It was a desperate dash for safety, a race against time and the gathering might of the Royal Navy. He detached the Prinz Eugen, ordering her to continue the commerce-raiding mission alone, a forlorn hope given the circumstances. The Royal Navy, reeling from the loss of the Hood but galvanized by a fierce desire for vengeance, gave chase with an almost fanatical determination. Every available ship in the Atlantic, from battleships and aircraft carriers to cruisers and destroyers, was ordered to intercept. The pursuit became a relentless, multi-pronged assault, a fleet unmatched in size and fury surging forward, converging on the wounded German giant. The Atlantic, once Bismarck's hunting ground, had become her trap. The initial trap in the Denmark Strait had failed, and the legend of HMS Hood lay beneath the waves, a stark reminder of Bismarck's destructive power. And yet, amidst the grief and shock, a grim determination surged through British hearts. The Bismarck, once the apex predator, the symbol of German naval might, was now a wounded beast, leaving a trail of oil across the vast ocean. The Royal Navy, driven by a potent mix of vengeance and strategic imperative, would not rest until she was found and destroyed. The pursuit was a testament to naval endurance and the burgeoning power of air reconnaissance. British warships led by Admiral Sir John Tovey's home fleet powered through the waves, their crews pushed to the limits of exhaustion. The aircraft carrier HMS Ark Royal, a vital asset, launched her venerable fairy swordfish biplanes into the dusk, their slow, ungainly forms belying their deadly purpose. These string bags, as they were affectionately known, were armed with torpedoes, their mission to cripple the Bismarck's steering, to deliver the fatal blow that would allow the battleships to close in for the kill. The most powerful ship in the Kriegsmarine would not vanish quietly. Her crew, though exhausted, remained defiant, ready to fight to the last. But her fate had already begun to unfold, sealed by the damage sustained in the Denmark Strait and the relentless pursuit of an enraged empire. It would culminate in fire, in steel, and in the cold, unforgiving embrace of the sea. The stage was set for the final brutal act of the Bismarck's short but legendary career. One battle, 1 hour of unimaginable fury, one ship, the mighty Hood, that vanished in a flash of flame, taking with her over 1,000 souls. Another, the Bismarck, that limped toward a legend, her brief reign of terror ending in a desperate flight. Bismarck would not escape forever. Her final dramatic stand was yet to come. But in those early desperate hours of May 24, 1941, she silenced a Titan, delivered a crushing blow to British morale, and in doing so, inadvertently woke an empire to the full terrifying reality of the war at sea. The hunt for the Bismarck became a symbol of Britain's unwavering resolve, a desperate struggle for survival that would define the Battle of the Atlantic and shape the course of World War II. The story of the Bismarck is a gripping saga of naval power, strategic gambles, and human courage. It offers invaluable insights into the technological capabilities and tactical doctrines of World War II naval warfare and the immense stakes involved in the Battle of the Atlantic. If you found yourself captivated by this epic tale of steel and sacrifice, if the roar of naval guns and the clash of titans on the high seas stir your imagination, then join our growing community of history buffs, naval enthusiasts, and war historians. Subscribe to History Unburied for more in-depth explorations of pivotal moments, legendary ships, and the untold stories that shaped our world. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode, and share this video with fellow history lovers. Your engagement helps us continue to unearth the past and bring these incredible narratives to life.